I used to work a traffic control job where over the weekend I spent the entire weekend playing Rhythm Heaven Megamix uh, and this was recent. I know Rhythm Heaven Megamix is kind of an older game, but I was playing a retro game more recently because if you watch YouTube regularly, you know there's a lot to be said about the state of the modern gaming industry. This video is not about that, despite the fact that it is about nostalgia for older games. Um, but yeah, I spent the whole weekend playing that, and one of the cars shot forward on my stop sign, and I jumped out of the way with barely an inch to spare between me and the car. And if I didn't spend the whole weekend playing Rhythm Heaven Megamix, I would have gotten hit by that car. So my relationship with video games kind of bloomed since then, though it kind of did go down because recently, as in a couple weeks ago, more so, my cat died, and he gave his last meow while I was playing Burnout. Or the game, the original Burnout, not even anything good. And despite the fact that he would never meow for no reason except a different time a week before that, I thought that he was just meowing for no reason. But I think he wanted me to be with him while he died. I was too focused on a video game. It's definitely a double-edged sword. Welcome to Comet's Declassified Wasteland Survival Guide. This video is not about Nintendo games. The majority of Fallout games have you play as a vault dweller, an experience I can relate to as a man whose father gave him executive dysfunction. Now, if I were to list all of the various different disorders that were abbreviated as ED, with Nichols, I would have... we're leaving that in. I would have 3 Nichols, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened thrice. Okay, the Fallout game I wanted to talk about today is you play as a courier, and it was very common in 2010 when this was released for movies and epilogues, showing where all the characters went after the main story. There's a stickman series on newgrounds that parodied this. Unfortunately, I was unable to find any evidence of this, but I remember playing this in high school, so it does exist. The point is, it was really common at the time. New Vegas has it at the end of the game and at the end of every DLC, and while Fallout New Vegas is hysterically American, it parodies America quite well, and it's clear the devs were into goth tomboys. But not sure why I wrote that. In modern America, we don't have enough media that deals with failure. How am I to cope to the fact that I might never be loved the way I would have been loved had I been free in my adolescence, when all our media is full of characters easily achieving their dreams? Anyway, please ignore that previous statement. Fallout New Vegas has many slides showing characters' failures, such as Christine, who is one of Fallout New Vegas's most underrated character stories, and the only mod to win an Emmy, at least at the time of writing the script. The Forbidden City Skyrim mod. There's a character who's just a man who's hated by other villagers for being gay. I dislike this, as this is a world where there's no Abrahamic religion. There's no rationale for homophobia. To be more edgy, humans are rational creatures, not always logical, in fact rarely so, but there's no real reason to hate gay people as a whole. But God's will at least provides an adequate line of reasoning in certain people's minds. Stupid people specifically. Remade into a standalone game and set in Rome. I don't believe Romans were homophobic. Just because something is reasonable doesn't mean it's true. Veronica X Christine Canon Yuri shipping, on the other hand, I think this was a first in terms of sentences. I'm actually surprised. I specifically Googled, not for weird reasons, but I specifically Googled Veronica Christine Yuri for this, and there seems to be a weird disconnect between the people who are into Japanese culture and the people who are into Fallout New Vegas, despite sharing similar spaces. Anyway, this shipping was outlawed by the Brotherhood of Steel because of the small number of people in their vault and the need for reproduction, which makes sense. This is how you write homophobia. This is how you write decent hatred. You gotta give a rationale behind it. Gotta give a rationale behind the villain. Alright, no more hating on homophobes. Homophobia is a serious problem. See people out on the streets without a home because of homophobia. No, that's not a joke, confusing homophobia with homelessness. Legitimately, a large majority of homeless teens are there because they're, well, at least in America, because their family is Christian and they don't want them to be gay. That's legitimately the main reason. Anyway, finding the greatest RPG of all time. That's not the hard part. It's dealing with all the giant bugs, literal giant bugs, figurative giant bugs. I highly recommend playing PC. So there will be many times where you have to fix a bug manually with console commands. Never to progress, because there's many ways around that, and some quests you can just drop altogether. But when I see things clip through the floor, or when I need to complete a side quest because I'm like OCD like that, I want to see content hidden behind progressing in a certain way, so I just got a console command from time to time. And it's not cheating if the game doesn't offer you any other option. At least that's the way that I see it. Favorite bugs are karma related, probably intentional. The karma system in this game is ass. Most NPCs are marked as neutral, so killing them doesn't infer bad karma, which that's not how the majority of moral systems work, but due to a scripting, a faction can't be angered by witnessing you unlock or steal something unless it infers bad karma, leading to the bizarre situation in which unlocking a gate to free slaves in Cottonwood Cove gives you negative karma. Fortunately, you get more positive karma after unlocking their slave colors, but still, it's really bizarre. If you just open the gate and leave, you've lost karma. So, actually, I guess it kind of makes sense, because it's implied that they do run away eventually with the explosive collars on, and then that would kill them. Now that I think about it. Anyway, here's a little lesson in trickery. To get bad karma, repeatedly open and close Tree's personal terminal in the Good Spring Saloon without hacking it. And to get good karma, repeatedly kill the stranded, crippled power ganger in Nipton, and he'll resurrect in 3 days, like Jesus Christ never did. To anyone who played this mess on OG PS3, which I still own one of the PS3s, I still actually play it, or Xbox, which I don't like Xbox. Every single time I go over to my brother's place to play Xbox, I sit there for several hours waiting for everything to update, and by the time everything is updated, I have to leave. So it's not playing a game to me, it's just watching updates. Whatever happened to just putting the game on the disc? Anyway, to those who played those on original hardware, I salute you. The toad's about to rock. People who played this game may have noticed my reference to Dead Money earlier, DLC where you break into Sierra Madre while being made a slave to a delusional, power-hungry man. Not my father, Elijah. In this DLC, you team up with 3 characters. Aforementioned Christine was power is to prevent your bomb caller from going off too quickly, which makes sense because her vocal cords are cut. So they're not super close to the bomb caller, and she's Brotherhood of Steel, so she knows technology. The dog god who eats enemies that you knock down, ensuring their death. Got the dog story and the god story. It makes sense, he's a giant schizophrenic Nikin. My favorite character, Bean Domino, whose power is to protect you from poisonous gas clouds. That I don't get it. I prefer cut content mods. Even with 8 of them, there's still some cut content that I haven't experienced, like returning Vance's gun, which I don't know if there's a mod for. There's the... Okay, so I haven't seen anyone else have trouble trying to get this, but there are lines that the boomer Jack is supposed to say. He has hyper-specific dialogue. I'm pretty sure it's bugged out, where you can convince him that his love interest getting hit by an artillery strike was a mistake, and there doesn't seem to be any way to trigger this part of the conversation. So I would just repeatedly blow up Janet with artillery shells to try to get this dialogue, and I would never get it, and it honestly makes me feel bad, because after that Jack defaults to sleeping in his bed instead of going out, which honestly I understand the vibe. No, I don't have problems stemming from my religious trauma separating me from the women I loved. And why do you ask? Anyway, I had to uninstall one content mod that puts back MCR troopers waking you up every 2 hours if you sleep in their cots. This was accidentally applied globally, making it so every time you slept you'd wake 2 hours later, and would have to go through the trouble of going back to sleep 4 times to get a good night rest. And I don't want that level of realism in gaming, actually. Anyway, talking about the greatest RPG of all time for several minutes, it's not the hard part.
It's letting go. It's letting go.
It's letting go.
It's letting go. It's letting go.
What was it? There's a TV show?